Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea and Hot Sauce with myself and Orlando. Hopefully, Orlando will be in shortly. And in the meantime, I'm going to take you through a couple of things that I have been looking at recently. A few things that are in focus for me today. First of all, gold. I'm interested in gold. In terms of my analysis, I'm looking at gold to the downside at the moment. The reason that I'm looking at gold to the downside is because of the fact that we've broken down through this horizontal level of support here. We did have that consolidation, if you remember, that we were talking about for a couple of weeks. And price has broken down through that. So in terms of a trend, what we now have is lower highs and lower lows. Now, I do have this level just here where this previous low, the spike from this previous low was, and prices settled at that level again. So that is a level of concern for me. There are a few options here. There is one option which could be that price just now ranges and bounces between these two levels. It does seem like at the moment the markets are consolidating quite a lot across the board. But the other option could be that this trend could continue. Now, price has come back and retested this previous level of horizontal support. The retest of this level is not exact. If we just have a look here, price hasn't come exactly up to this level and retested, but it's close enough, and price is heading down from there. So I'm looking for short-term trades to the downside. I would also be looking for longer-term trades further. So this here is my next strong level of support. So ideally, what I'm looking to see is for a short-term trade to the downside. And ideally, what I would like to happen is price move even further down and hit this next level of support. That would be my longer-term view. Of course, that's going to happen. So any trading I do between now and this level here has to be at low risk, and it has to be conservative. So in terms of looking for a potential entry, it's down to the lower time frames, and really I'm looking at this hourly time frame at the moment, and I'm looking for potentially what I've got here is a left-hand shoulder, a head up here, and potentially a right-hand shoulder at some point. Now, where that right-hand shoulder is going to form, who knows? And it could be that price just breaks straight down through, or it could be that price forms this right-hand shoulder and then breaks through. Either way, it's likely to be this kind of area here that I need to see broken before I can get short into this market. And I'd like to see a decent reward by the time I get down to this level. The reason for that is because I want my trade to be safe. I want my trade either to be in guaranteed profit or at least a minimum of guaranteed break even before that level, which then means that if I've got a guaranteed break even trade, I'm in it fairly early in case price breaks through this level here. And if price does break through that level there could be another opportunity to take a retracement there and get in again anyway. So that's what I'm looking at on gold. I'm going to be looking at a couple of other things as well in a similar kind of way, but I thought while we have him here, why not welcome Orlando and
Hello, Chloe. How are you?
get a look at what he's looking at. How are you, Orlando? I'm good, thank you.
I'm fine, thank you. Actually, I
Excellent.
was looking at the same level as you were in gold.
Oh,
Do you
fantastic. Why
mind if
don't
I
you
share my?
grab the screen? Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. There you go. So basically, I was looking, or I am looking at the same level you are looking at for a possible short in gold. Now, I actually played the long side of this breakout towards that level, right? And this was the first level I was looking at for to take profits, right? And I actually took most of it off before last night's presidential debate, which was a complete disaster. I don't know if you saw it, but it was a complete disaster. The presidential debate in the United States, right? And right now, I am looking at a short continuation. Should this level break, which is of course the I don't know if it's today's lows. Let me grab that. It is. So this is today's lows, and I would be looking for a continuation towards the previous weekly lows. Should this low break right here, and as you said, it could be looked as a head and shoulders, right? So we are looking at the same scenario here in gold, but of course that let me go to the 50-minute chart. Um, and let me zoom in on this a little bit because I believe that we need this low to break in order to extend a further downside in gold. But also, if we break with this level right here, I do believe that we could be looking at more upside in gold. So I am still undecided or on the fences on um, where I see price going, because to me right now it's trading in kind of a no man's land, because I don't see true directionality, even though we have rejected these highs around the 1900 level, right? So let's see if we break with this low or these highs um, to get for me to get a decisive move in this market. The other thing that I was looking at was the US dollar versus the Japanese yen. Now, the reason that I was looking at this market was because we are retesting these lows right here. Okay. Now, the thing about this is that um, I thought to myself that this was a good market to play a US dollar weakness versus a Japanese yen strength with a short position on the US dollar Japanese yen, right? But this trade idea is still in the fences, in the sense that um, we are still below this level, which is the 105.80 to 105.90. Let's call it 105.80 to 106 level. This one right here, right? Um, but and also we kind of broke with yesterday's open. But if we look closely right here, and this is the other thing that caught me or that caught my attention, right? That we were grinding higher, but we were grinding higher kind of inside of a rising pennant, which in this case a rising pennants towards a level of previous support now turned resistance in my eyes is a reversal pattern, right? And this kind of a breakout or a fake out, I'm sorry, um, doesn't give me real hopes that we are going to be continuing down. Of course, that we need to be looking at the DXY And this is why this is the other reason that I saw that this could be a good short after this fake out of the long-term bearish structure in the DXY, and that we actually broke below the 94 level. But now that we have rejected this well, let's call it these previous lows, again I would need some direction to the downside in order for that idea to continue, which means that we would need to break with the previous lows in the DXY. And right now we are seeing some US dollar strength on the short term, right? If we go to the, I don't know, 50-minute um, time frame. Um, Today, the US dollar has grinded down, but when we got to the 93.80 level, we started to see some strength uh, from the lows, and now we have broken with the immediate bearish structure, which can, I mean, it doesn't mean that we're going to have a full bullish continuation in the US dollar, but having this US dollar strength right before the US session open um, doesn't give me hopes that we are going to be breaking with the daily lows. Again, I mean, it's just for the time being, it's just something that I have to be looking forward or looking for, and just play the direction of the market. And if a bearish continuation in the US dollar doesn't pan out, even though that looking at zoomed in, this looks very flaggy, right? Like, well, very much like a bearish flag uh, from the bounce of today's lows. But again, it's something that I need to be watching in order to get a real direction um, on my U.S. dollar Japanese yen idea, right? And that is something that I'm looking at right now. I'm not looking at any commodities in particular, and the other thing that I'm looking at is U.S. equities. Okay, now the reason that I'm looking at let's remove the drawings. The reason that I'm looking at U.S. equities and especially the S&P 500 is because I'll show you. It's because of this. Maybe this is too zoomed out. Let's go to a 4-hour chart. This is the US dollar. No, this is the NASDAQ. US 500 should be the S&P 500. Okay, so the last time that we saw each other, I was talking about this massive level on the S&P 500, and this is basically what I look in the markets right here. Very strong. Turning points in historic price action that then turned into key levels where we saw buying power or selling power. In this case, it's buying power jumping into the market. And well, last week we actually bounced from that level, and not only that, in my eyes, we broke with what seems to be also a continuation, a reversal pattern right from that level. Oops. So, having said that, I'm looking for more upside on the. I'm looking for more upside on the U.S. equities. Also, because yesterday I was reading an article on Yahoo Finance that, well, I don't have it right now, but this article showed a research from Goldman Sachs about new business. Um, what's it called? This analytic, it's called new business applications in the United States that had a sudden spike in the third quarter. So new businesses applications in the United States have risen or have risen and for about more than 100% from quarter to quarter, which can I mean, which can indicate uh, that the coronavirus pandemic recovery is going to be much faster than previously anticipated, which means that more jobs are going to be created, or not more jobs are going to be created, but the jobs that were lost because of the pandemic shutdown, some of them are going to be back or are going to be recreated very fast. That is another thing, but that is a little bit long term, and I don't know if we're going to see a real short term bullish move due to that analytic in particular, but we might start to see some better employment numbers, better business operation numbers, and industrial um, um, operation numbers too, which is going to be very bullish for the for U.S. equities. And the Democrats also just released their new version of um, the new bill for the second round of stimulus towards the American citizens. And if that passes, that is also going to be bullish for US equities. But in any case, just technically speaking, we are now retesting these lows and previous highs. Yesterday, after the debate, well, during the debate, we had a sudden spike in equities. And then after the debate, US equities melted. But that move to the downside, let's move to the 1 hour chart. That move to the downside was capped by this level, by the previous lows level. And well, I thought to myself that we might even go ahead and close this gap that we have right here, which we kind of did, but now we are bouncing from the previous levels, all right? Again, immediately, this is still a bearish move, right, from the highs. Okay, let's put on a line here too. So immediately we are still in a bearish move from the highs. Okay, and I mean, we would need to wait and see what the U.S. Open brings, and if we get an influx of buyers right here, it's very plausible that we're going to be breaking with these highs and making new daily uh, not new daily highs, but making new highs right here, and very possibly also retesting the 3370 level. Okay, but this is the thing about U.S. equities and the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, etc., that it's not a very good idea to take a position pre-market, because the first 10 to 15 minutes of the U.S. session are always very volatile, and it's very plausible that we might see a move down before a continuation higher. So, and also we could see this as a day trade to retest these highs. But if we go to further in time frames, um, well, buyers that picked up buys here might just be also adding to their positions for a continuation, right? I also read an article that JP Morgan expects a 10% recovery from current levels, which is about well, it's an all-time highs, a new all-time highs move according to their expectations. Of course, we're not going to be trading just based on what JP Morgan says, but I mean, after doing some research and reading um, big banks analysis, it's looking pretty bullish, right? I don't know what you think about it, Troy. Hello?
Hi, yeah, sorry, I was muted.
Okay, no
Um,
worries.
yeah, I completely agree with you, Orlando. And I was looking at, I was focusing more on Nasdaq today rather than the S&P,
Yeah.
but they're both showing really, really similar price action. And Nasdaq has some pretty good levels as well that are
Yes.
worth
Levels on
keeping
the
an eye on.
Nasdaq are much clearer actually than the
Yeah, they
S&P
are.
500.
They are. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty likely that they'll both follow suit. It's unlikely that one's going to go one direction and the other's going to go the opposite direction. But yeah,
Yeah.
the levels on the Nasdaq look pretty good to me, pretty nice and clean for a move to the upside potentially. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Well,
completely agree with you there.
yeah, and it's pretty. I mean, after on both markets, let's have a look at the Nasdaq because what you're saying it's actually no, there's no. Oh yes, here it is, Nasdaq. What you're saying is actually pretty pretty true, pretty true. Um, more clear, right? With the I don't know what level you were looking at on the Nasdaq, maybe these previous highs.
Yeah, exactly.
This level right here, the 1112, the 11240, these previous highs, which I mean is still the is I mean risk to reward wise, it's a better scenario than the S&P 500. But like you said, just look at price action; it's extremely similar on both sides, right? For example, that breakout right here of what looks to be a very deep reversal pattern, and then a deep buy or a continuation on these previous broken highs retest, right, for a continuation. Also, I read an article, Chloe, that SoftBank's chairman's son just secured an 11 billion round of funding, and it's pretty sure that some of that money is going to end up in the tech industry in the United States. So that might have a boost again in the Nasdaq, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, because this move right here, if you remember, was because SoftBank was closing their super aggressive options play on some tech companies in the United States and the Nasdaq, right? So that had a very that well because their positions were so massive that them closing or taking profits on them had a very bearish um, reaction on the Nasdaq. I'm sorry, which is very tech heavy. And now if they announced it's not going to be today, tomorrow, or this week. We don't know if even that money is going to land on US tech companies. But if it does, it's going to have again big pressure in the Nasdaq. Why? Because these people, what they do is they play in options, right? So um, the one option contract gives you the option to buy 100 shares of a company, right? So so what happens is that brokers and banks have to buy those shares in order to hedge their positions, um, because they are selling those options. Okay, and that is what has the big bullish pressure in U.S. stocks, or that's why we're also seeing the big rallies in U.S. stocks. But again, we don't know if that is going to happen, if it's going to happen at all. But I just thought that it was interesting that they had another $11 billion to play with, and given the fact that how they've been playing with or with their money, it's pretty sure. Well, not pretty sure, like I said before, but interesting where that these some of this money is going to land on U.S. equities on the tech side.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, so it's nice to have a fundamental bias as well as a technical bias, and when those two agree, then we can hope for some good trading opportunities.
Yes, we should. And I mean, it's pretty cool that we're looking at the same levels in gold and the Nasdaq too, and that we are expecting for this place to pan out, right? One of the things that I'm looking for on the Nasdaq too, which I mean, it's the same that the S&P 500 is if is the break of this high, because if we do break with this high, we're going to be breaking with the previous level of support, which is a pretty slam dunk indication of a continuation. And I don't know if you, well, I'm pretty sure that you have. The risk to reward here is it's pretty neat. Uh, we're starting to see some bullish power. So not only in the U.S. equities, but also in gold, which is fine. But the risk to reward, I was saying, um, for this play, the next level that I will be looking at would be the 11,500, a 590, which is these previous highs right here. That would give us a nice, almost I want to two. That's right, because this is what, let's calculate it actually. From this to this is a 16 thousand ticks, 1600 ticks, or 26 uh 100 ticks. Almost I wanted to restore reward scenario, which is great for first targets. But I don't know if you would be, I mean, I think yeah, I mean, you would if you manage to catch this move, you're definitely going to be holding it as long as the bullish structure or the bullish bias remains, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of options there. You can either scale out along the way, or you can move your stops, or plenty of options for trade management to stay in that trade for as long as possible.
Yep, I completely agree with you. But I mean,
Um,
this is what I'm looking at. Not too much. I mean, this is pretty. This is actually a lot, but I'm not looking at any other markets other than this, Chloe.
all right, I just have one more thing to share with you guys, which is Aussie dollar.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Just very quickly, we're going to close the show in a couple of minutes. So we're on a tight schedule, but just really quickly, I am looking at Aussie dollar to the downside uh, in a very similar way that I've been looking at gold. We broke through this horizontal level here. We've got a lower high, lower low. So I have my uh, downtrend. I hesitate to call it a downtrend. It's not a very long established downtrend, but I definitely have price moving downwards, and I've got price having retested this level here. Those of you who know my trading strategy will know that I use the weekly and the weekly pivot as one of my areas that I like to look at. And it's interesting to me that price has managed to get beneath the weekly pivot. It's really, really struggling. At the moment, it's just popping its head above. While price is above that weekly pivot, I'm not interested at all. But I'm looking at very similar price action here. Again, it's pretty messy, but I'm looking at this as a potential head and shoulders. There's the left-hand shoulder, the head up there, right hand shoulder here, and I'm just looking for price really to break down beneath this area. And if that happens, I'd like to see a retest, and then I would be trading that to the downside. Now, obviously, it's a case of if this happens, it might not happen. And at the moment, with the markets being as they are, it's really important to stay flexible and actually understand that if price does break above these highs here, there could be potential to the upside as well. So it's about being flexible there, but see quite clean price action on. So it's another one on my watch list. So with that, I believe that we're going to get kicked out of the show fairly soon, Orlando. And
Yes, I do believe so
I am
too.
going to have to bid everyone adieu. This is going to be my last tea and hot sauce show before the arrival of an extra family member. So I'm just going to take the next couple of weeks
Yes, and
off.
we are all very happy for that and wish you all the best, Chloe.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to take the next couple of weeks off and rest, focusing on those people who are in my Income Creator Strategy Leader group coaching group. I'll be focusing on those for the next couple of weeks. But apart from that, I am scaling back on everything. Just going to put my feet up and have a little bit of a rest. I have been told that I'm never going to sleep again. So
Yes, you are not. At least for a couple of years.
oh dear. So it's been a pleasure, Orlando, to be in the show with you. And
It
don't
also
worry,
has
I
been.
will be back. I
Yep.
understand that Lloyd is going to be covering for me while I'm
Yes.
away. And I'll be back next year. Not in a year, but after the new year.
And if I don't speak to you, Chloe, I wish you all the best and Happy New Year.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
All right,
And
guys.
okay,
And
goodbye.
we also have the US session preview coming up in just under 15 minutes time. So stay tuned for that one. Cheers,
Exactly.
everyone.
Cheers. Goodbye.